Hi, loves. Welcome to AW Confidential, where nothing is confidential. Today, we're sitting down with actress Astrid
Rotenberry.
Rotenberry. Okay, well, she is amazing. She's gorgeous, and she is someone who's seen the industry from both sides of the table. Before stepping in front of the camera, Astrid worked behind the scenes in casting, witnessing how the decisions are made, who gets access, and what power really looks like when the doors are closed. Now, as part of Netflix hit series and one of my favorites, I can barely hold myself back. His and Hers. And if you haven't seen it, you have to see this series. She brings that perspective with her as an actress, not just in her work, but into how she advocates for herself as a woman in this industry. This conversation isn't just about credits, it's about clarity, ambition, and the boundaries we learn to protect as we grow. Hello, Astrid.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
You know, I get excited about all my guests, but being that I just finished the show, I am just super excited, and I know you can tell in my energy
I'm
before even
thrilled. I'm so glad.
so I want to start with filming. How did filming His and Hers in Atlanta shape the experience for you, both on and off the set, especially joining an already established cast?
Yeah, being in Atlanta was really exciting. I'm from the South, so it was great to go back down south and, to be surrounded by people who reminded me of where I grew up. And I think that being in Atlanta really aided to the story we were telling and where our story was set because our crew was so diverse at every level. And that was so great and also so important in the industry. Sometimes that can be hard to find. And I think that knowing there was so much love and care for every character on screen at every level aided in telling the story we were telling. We also, most of the girls were from out of town. And so we were being housed in a hotel. And so when we were not filming, we had a lot of time together to hang out and to get to know each other. And I think that that really strengthened our bond and our friendship. And that only aided us in our performances and the work that we were able to do. Because, although my character wasn't really a big part of the friend group, I think that
What girl? Yes, it was.
well, she wasn't necessarily, like, kikied up with the girls. Like, the girls they were kikied down. I think that really helped in their performances, but I also think it helped me in that I knew I was in this safe group where we could just play and really, live in the world that we were performing in, and yeah, I think that just really helped us flesh all of it out.
And I'm glad you mentioned the friend circle. And I don't want to give away too much because I want every one of you to watch the show. But how was that experience? Did you have to go back to mentally when you were in high school, or how did that work? Because I thought that the whole friendship, the click, was
Yeah.
so believable.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think a lot of that was, um, to their credit, I think the other actresses in our show were so incredible and just so much young energy and just faith in themselves, and, I think that yeah, for me, I had to go back mentally to a place of being in high school and every single thing that happens to you is the be all end all of your existence. Like, this is the end of the world. If these people don't like me, it is the end of the world. Like, all you want is to be accepted and to be invited to sit at the table. And all you want is to be liked. And yeah, that feeling of fear and isolation when you don't fit into the mold that the rest of society wants you to fit into. That's something that I had to think about a lot.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I You mentioned sitting at the table, and we have to get into this as much as
Yeah.
I want to do is talk about the show. But we want to talk about Astrid. Before acting professionally, you interned in a casting office, which is a very different vantage point. How did seeing the industry from behind the scenes change the way you approach auditions and opportunities now?
Yeah, so I kind of chose to pursue this internship because I wanted to see that vantage point as a performer. And I went in being very honest about the fact that I was doing this to strengthen my toolkit as a performer. And I was really lucky in that I had a lot of opportunities to be in the audition room. I got to read with people for their auditions for TV. And I think that the biggest takeaway I had was watching actors come in for roles and learning that what sets one audition apart from another isn't who's doing it the best, it's who is bringing themselves to the role in a way that is truthful and therefore makes the role more interesting. And so I think the biggest takeaway I had was that the most powerful tool I had as an actress was just to be myself from the moment I stepped in the room, the way that you greet casting. I mean, obviously, you should be polite and professional, but you should still be you. You know, you want to make these relationships, you want to charm them in whatever way that is, whatever, however that looks for you. You want to be yourself. Don't be charming if you're not charming. But like
Authenticity is
yeah,
everything.
authenticity is everything. You have to be authentic to yourself, authentic to the character in that even if you're coming in for a small role that seems black and white, like I'm playing a doctor with two lines, don't just come in and play a doctor who seems like a doctor. Come in and play the version of a doctor that only you can do. Like make that doctor a three-dimensional person and not just someone who lives in that examination room. And so I think that that gave me a a sense of agency and of power that I didn't have before because I was so focused on doing the audition right or doing the audition wrong. And, you know, you're so worried about wanting to impress these people. And it's really about knowing that these people want it to be you and they're rooting for you and they're on your side. And the best thing you can do for yourself is just to be honest.
And be yourself. There's nothing better than that. There's absolutely. Now you've been on both sides of the table. What did that experience teach you about power specifically and how you advocate for yourself?
Yeah, I think I learned a lot about, you know, just belief in your own power. And especially in a city like New York, and especially when you're coming in and you're auditioning at these, you know, like EPA's cattle call seeming auditions, like the only person who you know can advocate for you at all times is yourself. And you have to be able to believe in your own power and to believe in your gifts and to know and be proud of what you bring to the table, the things that only you can bring to the table. You have to know all of those things and hold them close to your heart. And that's where your power comes from. And if you don't believe it, then other people won't. You have to be the first person who believes in yourself. I think the more you believe in yourself and the more you just kind of honor your own light and your own power, the more that will come through to others.
There's also endurance there. It's
Yeah.
really difficult to go through this journey of a creative in general
Right.
and not get beat up. So, that belief in yourself, that's what's going to take you to that next audition and that next assignment and that next whatever it is. So, I do believe that it's like the fuel, don't you think?
Yeah, it really is
Yeah.
the foundation. It's like you can have bad days. You can have days where you let yourself feel sad because it is hard. It is one of the hardest things that you could possibly do. And the mental endurance is 80% of the battle because the minute that you feel like, oh, I don't have what it takes to do this, it will show in your work. You have to believe in your own gifts. And that really is the driving force of what pushes you through every day.
Absolutely. We talk about belief and we talk about how difficult the creative field is. And the word ambition comes to mind. Ambition has been used negatively, but I think it can be a positive force, with this type of journey. As your career has evolved, how has your relationship with ambition changed, if at all?
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I was always very ambitious. And I remember in high school when I was thinking about wanting to pursue acting professionally and how I wanted to do that, which avenue I wanted to go with that. I remember consciously having the thought of like, well, what I really want is to move to New York and to pursue acting in New York. I had the thought, that's too big of a dream. Like, that's too ambitious and that won't happen. And it's too scary. And I don't know how I'm going to make that happen. And I remember telling myself, like, well, if you say that, then of course it's going to be too big. But if you do it, even though you're scared, we'll see what happens. And so I think what I've learned as my career has progressed is that you have to be, I don't know, like you just have to do it scared. Even if the ambition seems too great, you have to allow yourself to fan that flame and to believe that, even if that doesn't happen, that is what I'm shooting for. And this way I won't be upset that I didn't try. Like, I have to at least try. And I think that I've learned that it is my own ambition that has kept me going, even on the days that are really hard and on the days when I feel tired and beaten down and like I don't want to do it anymore. It's like, well, but I have no other choice because I made this goal and I have this drive and I have to see this through.
100%. It's about shifting our perspective. I feel that we're almost conditioned to think negatively, and I've done it.
Yeah.
Everyone has done
Even
it.
when we think negatively, like we can't be disappointed when we think negative.
Sometimes you say, "Well, what's the worst that can happen?" And I've heard this before. Why not ask yourself, "What's the best outcome? What's the best that can happen?"
Yeah.
And I think if we sort of make that shift in our minds, it can change a lot of things. It can actually give us that extra push to go on to just the next thing. Because
Yeah.
we don't even have to think about like, that the red carpet to like whatever
Yeah,
it is for you,
exactly.
right? Just that next step.
Shoot for the moon, land amongst the stars. Like, if
Ugh,
you have positive goals, if you believe that you can end somewhere great, even if you land somewhere good, it's like, "Okay, this is good. I'm not in the bad place."
yeah, definitely. I totally agree. And it's not easy, right? It takes work. And I think part of the work is unlearning certain behaviors, certain mindsets. So I want to ask you, what have you had to unlearn to stay expansive without shrinking yourself? Because I do think that's like our go to, like you said. So,
I've had to unlearn apologizing for being honest about what I want, and I think that as my 20s have played out, I had to unlearn saying yes to things just because I thought that that's what I should do instead of what was true for me and instead of what I really wanted. And I also think that I think, like we were just talking about, thinking negatively to protect myself is something that I work actively to unlearn every single day. Like, just learning to champion myself, even in my moments where I'm like, well, I should have done this. It's like, okay, but you're learning from this. And now you get to take X from this and apply this next time. And that way you're always growing. So I think negative self talk is something that I relied on for a really long time as a crutch. And that's probably the biggest thing I've had to unlearn.
girl, I'm the president of that club.
Yeah. Right? So much easier said than done to be like, well, just get rid of negative self talk.
It's interesting that I don't think I've spoken about this, but one of the things that I'm trying to do more of is be kinder to myself,
Yeah.
give myself more grace. And it's not that we're going to change our behavior in
Yeah.
one day and that's going to be it. It's just those little things every day. I have days when, I get ghosted. I
Yeah.
get ghosted. It
It
happens.
happens.
And or I don't get that, that interview that I was really gunning for. So, I have to just remind myself it's okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I'm not good at what I do, or that there's something wrong with me, because I think that's for me, that's been my go-to. Now I'm like, "You
Yeah.
know what? No, I'm going to take one day and feel sorry for myself. It's okay."
And
But
there's definitely you need to take the space to allow yourself to feel the sad emotions, but it's like there's no need for this is something I've learned a lot in therapy. There's no need for a story as to why something didn't work out. Like, you don't need to make up a story to make yourself feel better or worse. Sometimes things just are the way they are, and it's nothing that you did or didn't do. It's just the way that life shakes out. Like, everyone else is also on their own journey, and things happen because they happen sometimes. It's nothing to do with you or your talent or what you bring to the table. It just wasn't you that day.
100%. Thanks for sharing that with me. We love therapy here. I
We
have
do.
spoken.
It'll be fun.
Oh, love it. Saves me. So, one of the things that we do through this journey of life is we make a lot of compromises. Sometimes the compromises take away so much from us, but they also bring lessons. That's been for me. So, I want to ask you, as you go through this journey and you're learning about yourself and you're learning your deal breakers and your boundaries and about those compromises that you're willing to make or not. What's the quiet compromise you decided you'd never make again, no matter how big the opportunity?
I think doing something that makes me feel bad about myself and maybe, I don't know, be it the way that I look or just, the material itself, if it just makes me feel bad in some way, shape, or form, if I don't feel like I'm getting anything from it that excites me or serves me, if it just makes me feel bad, um, that's something I've learned, like, I shouldn't compromise on that anymore. I had to
Love
learn
that.
to say no to things that made me feel bad just because I was scared of not having more opportunities or scared, if I don't do this, then I won't work for this amount of time, not because I'm blacklisted, but because I won't have more opportunities. It's like, well, you would rather have the time to keep working on yourself, keep doing things that make you happy than say yes to something that makes you just feel really mentally bad because you're afraid of not working.
I think for me, it's been boundaries. There's
Yeah.
certain boundaries.
And that is a boundary.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
that's learning. That's a good way to put it. I think learning boundaries is something that I've had to learn to put up and to be okay with and to not feel bad about setting a boundary, because
Mhm.
I think for a really long time I felt really guilty about setting boundaries, and I thought, someone's going to be mad at me if I
Yeah.
say that I'm not comfortable doing this, and then, learning, no, it's okay to protect yourself. It's okay to say no when it is a no. You don't have to say yes because you're afraid that saying no will upset other people.
100%. That resonated so much. Thanks for sharing. I like to drop truth bombs. So, my question for you is, knowing what you know now, having seen how access and power actually works in the industry, what truth do you wish more women understood before they started negotiating their worth? And we're talking about boundaries. So, perfect question.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the truth is that you have to know your boundaries and you have to be honest with those, and you have to honor yourself and advocate for yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. Like, you are the only person who can advocate for yourself at every corner. And if you don't believe it, then other people won't believe it. So you need to believe at your core that your boundaries are valid and they cannot be moved, and that you have every right to set those boundaries and to exist in your own truth.
And now, what I appreciated about this conversation, and every conversation is different, it's that it reminds us that success isn't just about being seen. We've seen you on screen, we only see success. It's about knowing who you are, knowing what your boundaries are, and holding on to that authenticity
Yeah.
when you get to wherever you need to get. So, Astrid, thank you so much for keeping
You-
it real with me
Gosh.
and not just for sharing your gift. I really did love your character,
Oh,
but
so
also sharing your perspective and your boundaries and honesty matters to us. So thank you so much.
My gosh, well, thank you so much for giving me the space to talk about it and for having this platform. I think it's so important to continue to champion women on their own journeys and to remind women just how important your own power is and honoring that power. So thank you for this.
Please share with our community how they find you and how they find his and hers.
Yeah.
I mean, I've shared it with all my friends, but please share it again.
You can find His and Hers available on Netflix, and you can find me on Instagram at Astrid Rotenberry. It's just my first and last. So,
You're amazing. I'm sure we'll see so much more of you. So thank you for giving us the time today.
gosh, thank you so much. It was awesome being here. Really, I appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Loves, truth, boundaries, and our worth matters. If this episode resonates, share it with someone who might need to hear it today. Thank you for joining us and see you on the next episode of AW Confidential, where nothing is confidential. Bye, loves.